Hello, good evening. This is St. Peter's in Hove. I'm Father Alexander. Welcome to our 135th step in our walking tour through the Bible, our rather plodding steps as we wade through the book of Job. Now, I know some people think the book of Job is absolutely wonderful. Yeah, I, other people, not so much. Now, let's look at chapter 20 in the book of Job. Zophar of Namath spoke next. He said, and what he says essentially is the wicked have but a very short span on this earth. They're blown away by God. The wicked never prosper. He says this, do you not know that since time began and human beings were set on the earth, the triumph of the wicked has always been brief, and the sinner's gladness has never lasted long. Then what he continues to say, it's the whole chapter, is essentially an explication of this. Evil was sweet to his mouth. He would shelter it under his tongue, cultivating it carefully. He would let it linger on his pads. Such food goes bad in his belly, working inside him like the poison of a viper. Now he has to vomit up the wealth he has swallowed, and so on. In other words, a wicked person embarks on wickedness, but the wicked never prosper, and they rapidly come to ruin. This is a thought actually that we get in the Psalms. Look at the place of the wicked, you pass by and he is no longer there. Now, there's something called, in journalistic circles, the reductio ad Hitlerum. That is to say, how you reduce every argument talking about Hitler. And I'm going to do that right now. Hitler's reign was only 13 years, from January 1933 to April 1945. Actually, a little more than less than 13 years. And of course, by 1943, it was quite clear that he was going to lose the war. So he had 10 years of triumph and then followed by a rather rapid fall. Yes, okay. And it's true to say that Hitler's fall was caused by one person alone, namely Hitler. In other words, his evil destroyed itself. Yes, okay. However, one has to say to this, that for the people who were suffering under the rule of Hitler, that 13 years must have seemed like an eternity. And for those who were murdered by Hitler, let's say in 1942, the fact that Hitler was going to be dead within a few years made no difference to them. The other thing is, of course, Hitler's villainy did eventually disappear from the earth. But how many people was he allowed to take with him? Millions upon millions upon millions. And if you go to the other great evils of the 20th century, evil people of the 20th century, look at Stalin, who died in his bed, essentially. Stalin, who never had to suffer personally. Look at Mao. He never had to suffer personally either. And both of them between them killed even more than Hitler. So it's simply not true what Zophar of Namath says, that the evil are blown away by God, the evil never prosper. The evil can prosper and they can do immense harm, and that immense harm there's no justice for the people who are harmed by them. And once more, we see this happening today. In the Ukraine, a lot of people are suffering thanks to the invasion by Putin and his cronies, and they will not have justice on this earth. Their property is being destroyed, their lives are being taken, and their peace has been interrupted. And we can't really say, oh yes, but console yourselves, Putin will soon be a bad memory. So Zophar of Namath's rather silly discourse underlines the fact there is no justice here on earth. There is only justice in heaven, we could say. Sometimes there is justice on earth, but it's infrequent. Henry VIII died in his bed. Okay, he died full of despair, as did his daughter Elizabeth, but they both died in their beds. Now, so if there's no justice here on earth, well, there's justice in the next life. That is absolutely true. But if there's no justice here on earth, why isn't God intervening to punish the wicked and reward the good? It's a good question. God is a non-interventionist. That is one of the things that that Zophar of Naamath says. God is a doesn't understand. God is a non-interventionist. If there is to be justice done on earth, it must be done by people. Justice is a human thing, giving to each his own. We are the ones who are supposed to do it. Now, we then get on to Job in the next chapter, says essentially what I say. He says that, the unjust flourish wherever you look. Do we often see the light of the wicked put out, or disaster overtake him, or retribution of God destroy his possessions, or the wind blow him away like a straw, or a whirlwind carry him off like chaff? That's chapter 21, verse 17. So God is storing up punishment for his children. In other words, the wicked man prospers, the next generation pays for it. Well, that's not very consoling, because it's the wicked who should pay for his wickedness. But justice is not done on this earth. We are the ones who are meant to do justice, and we are failing. We blame God for the fact that this justice is not done on earth, perhaps. Well, I don't blame God, but some people do. Generally, unbelievers who don't believe in God blame God. But I blame people because you allow the wicked to get away with it. And this is the lesson of history. This is the lesson of morality. It's some people support the wicked, other people deny that the wicked are wicked, and other people also say, well, yes, we know the wicked are wicked, but there's nothing we can do. We'll just step back. And let's go back once again to look at Hitler. People knew Hitler was wicked, but made excuses for him. Or else they said, oh, well, he doesn't really mean what he says in Mein Kampf. Oh, well, yes, okay, but I think we can support him for the time being. Or they allow him, they bury their heads in the sand, or they actively support him. They allow him to get rid of it, get away with it. Hitler could have been stopped. Stalin could have been stopped. Mao could have been stopped. Henry Kissinger was the man who praised Mao as a philosopher king. How bad is that? Where is our moral sense in that we allow the wicked to get away with it? The wicked only get away with it because we allow it. Putin is invading Russia right now because we allowed him to annex the Crimea. We allowed him to annex parts of Donetsk and Luhansk. And before that, we allowed him to make war on Georgia and so on and so forth. We allow the wicked to have their wicked way. Anyway, and then Eliphaz of Teman speaks, this is the 22nd chapter, with another sort of input into this. And he says basically he takes the view, not the liberal view, but the totally conservative view, putting it in modern terms, that we are all guilty. Now, I've heard this one before. Oh, I've heard this a lot. And it really is sickening, I must say. Eliphaz of Teman is a dreadful old man, in my opinion. Can a human being contribute anything to God, he asks, even when someone intelligent can benefit only himself? Does Shaddai derive any benefit from your uprightness or profit from your blameless conflict? Do you think he is punishing you for your piety and bringing you to justice for that? No, he says, for your great wickedness, more likely, for your unlimited sins. You have exacted unearned pledges from your brothers, stripped people naked of their, etc. Now, what he is doing is he's saying that you, Job, who's, by the way, lived a blameless life, you are guilty. You are a sinner. You don't realize what a sinner you are. You may deny you're a sinner. You may not realize you're a sinner, but you are a sinner. You are a human being, and as such, you are sinful and not pleasing to God. Now, this is the ultra-Protestant point of view. All have sinned. All fall short of the glory of God, says St. Paul. That humanity is utterly corrupt. Now, this is simply not true from a Catholic point of view. Humanity is not utterly corrupt. They're perfectly good people who've never been baptized, who go around doing good all the time. There's some really nice people out there who are not even believers. And there are lots of believers who are really nice people as well, who are not totally corrupt. When Adam and Eve were expelled from the garden, they did not live like beasts. They were man and wife. They brought up children. They did a lot of good things, even though they were deprived of the friendship of God as they had known it before. That deprivation didn't leave them totally depraved. Their relationship with God was damaged, but their relationship with God still continued. I remember when I was a young seminarian in Rome many years ago, quite frequently we were all called in and we were all given terrible, terrible diatribes about blaming us for our various shortcomings. And I very much resented this at the time because I feel that Catholic guilt is a rather good thing, but let's be guilty for the things we've actually done, not for the things we haven't done. And let's not try and rebuke and bully people, telling them they're dreadful sinners when in fact they're not. It's a sort of diversionary tactic, isn't it? You're all guilty, you're all terrible, you're all ghastly. Rather, of course, and it's not very encouraging, trying to get people to do the right thing by telling them how ghastly they are. Rather, let's try and encourage them and say, hey, you're doing really well. This bit over here, I think, could be improved if you did X, Y, and Z. And have you thought of doing what? And so on. But this idea that you're all sinners and we're all going to hell unless you all change, but it's never quite clear how we're meant to change. It's a really bad thing. Eliphaz of Teman doesn't actually, well, he says to Job, he's got to repent. Well then, make peace with him, be reconciled, and all your happiness will be restored to you. In other words, go to confession. You must go to confession. But what have I done wrong? Oh no, you just must go to hell. You're saying you haven't done anything wrong? Oh, well, that just shows your pride. You must go to confession. I remember once denouncing a priest, delating a priest for his appalling alcoholism and being treated to a terrible, terrible diatribe from my religious superior, saying, you have no right to criticize Father X, and you should be criticizing yourself and this, that, and the other. And I said, well, look, hang on a sec. I'm not the one who's the alcoholic here, and that's what I want to talk to you about. Oh, no, blah, blah, blah. He's not an alcoholic. You're imagining it. I said, I don't think so. When somebody is drinking whiskey at 9 o'clock in the morning, it usually means they're an alcoholic, and so on. That did not go down well. People don't like the truth in that way. But Eliphaz of Teman is actually shifting the whole debate, saying, oh, we should be talking about your sins, Job, not about the sins of the wicked. And in fact, but Job is a righteous and virtuous man, so let's not do that. Okay. So there's quite a bit in Job, isn't there? So maybe I was a bit harsh saying how I really didn't like it at all. Okay, we'll talk about Job some more next time. Bye.